Good morning and welcome to The Point. It is Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. Thank you so much to the folks joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page. It's back up and running. Those of you joining us on YouTube, it's also up and running. Good morning to the folks on YouTube. Good morning to the folks on the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20. And good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9. This morning's To The Point, we're focusing on the credit union movement in Grenada. October is recognized as International Credit Union Month, and I have three guests joining us virtually. We have the president of the Grenada Cooperative League, Mr. Philip Telesford, general manager of Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Lydia Courtney Francis, as well as the director at Ariza Credit Union, Mr. Aaron Moses. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning to each of you. Can I say congratulations on International Credit Union Month 2020, celebrating under tough times, but nevertheless it's a cause for celebration. So I'm going to start with Mr. Telesford. This month as International Credit Union Month, what would you say has been probably the greatest achievement of the credit union movement in Grenada? Let's start there.
Good morning, Blossom. Good morning, Grenada. And good morning to all cooperators. Indeed, it is a privilege for us to be able to connect via Zoom and to be sharing with the entire nation and the diaspora on the movement on the credit union movement here in Grenada. So we are extremely delighted to be here, and the credit union movement has been really doing its own thing here in Grenada by way of achievement. We have done tremendously well over the past few years that we have been in existence. As a matter of fact, the movement here now is a mature movement in that we are 74 years this year, having started back in 1946. It's a very strong movement and we have done tremendously well. But to answer your question though, we celebrate International Credit Union Day under the theme Inspiring Hope for the global community. We have achieved tremendously. We are now a $1 billion movement. Having started from just a couple $100, we can now boast of $1 billion worth of assets in the movement. So we have done tremendously well. In terms of penetration within the communities and within the fabric of Grenada, we have now achieved 71,647 members in Grenada. So we have really done well in that regard, but there's still quite a lot of work to be done. And I want to say also that there is a strong connection with the diaspora. There are many in the diaspora who are also part of this wonderful movement. Our aim really is to ensure financial independence and for our members. So we continue to work, we continue to ensure that our members' assets are being protected. We continue to ensure that the movement itself is strong and resilient, especially in these times where we are faced with the COVID pandemic. So we continue to work hard to ensure that our members' assets are protected and that the movement continues to grow from strength to strength.
The contributions of credit unions in Grenada, specifically in the sector in recent years, is there or what else needs to be done to get you to the point where you would be, for lack of a better word, comfortable with the strides made?
Well, I don't think we'll be ever comfortable. We are a very progressive movement in that we always believe that the more we achieve is the more we have to do, because it's about rooting families out of poverty. It's about transforming a wonderful nation. It's about ensuring the growth and development of our members. It's about ensuring that every household and every member within every household is a part of the credit union movement, to ensure also that our diaspora is well served and they're all part of this noble movement. So But we continue to ensure that these things happen. But really and truly, what we are doing here is touching the lives of ordinary people. Yes, transforming lives, taking people from one position in life where they feel that that there is no way out. And a lot of times people come to join the credit union, they really nowhere to run really. And so we are able to listen to the concerns, provide advice, help to shape the thinking in a particular direction so as to ensure that they can become financially independent at some stage. So it's all about growth and development of people. That's what it is really.
Celebrating 74 years in 2020 comes in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. What have the experiences been during the past few months of this pandemic been like for the movement, the greatest challenges that the unions have faced over the past few months?
Well, there have been many challenges that we had to deal with. Apart from providing financial support, one of the first things we had to ensure is that our members are being able to be served while Grenada was on lockdown. And so many had their credit cards. We're trying to prepare them a little before the actual lockdown of the country, and to ensure that everybody have access to the finances. And so we were able to do that. We were able to reach out to members to provide counseling to them to ensure that they're well taken care of in terms of the state of mind and knowing that the movement is here. It's a shoulder that you can lean on. So it's not just providing financial service, it's also about counseling with the members, letting them know that you have a brother, you have a sister that you can depend upon. We hear your complaints, we try to work with you to ensure that they do not fall into a ditch, as it were, but they are well protected and taken care of, and that somebody's looking after them. These are some of the challenges. Apart from that, we had to deal with the issue of suspending payment on loans for a period of time by way of moratorium on loans and so on. So that is a challenge that still confronts us even this day, but we continue to work with our members, helping them to see that in the midst of all of this, there is always an opportunity in adversity, and so making use of all of that. So we've seen young persons being able to start new businesses. We've seen them taking advantage of social media, and so to expand what they currently own. And so this is a kind of help that we were able to provide for them during this difficult time.
Mrs. Francis and Mr. Moses, let me bring you both in here. Specifically about the credit unions you're representing, Ariza and Communal. What roles have you played in helping your members get through these COVIDious times over the past few months? Mrs. Francis, I'll start with you. Ladies first.
Thank you, Blossom, and good morning to Grenada, good morning to cooperators, the diaspora, all. I think the greatest thing for us, as the president of the league already alluded to, was about the soundness and of the minds of our people, and ensuring that we provide support and services to them that help to give them comfort, that help to stabilize them. You will recall, especially in the case of Communal, we hosted a mini-series where we tried to engage the nation. And that series actually started with the psychological impact, because we recognize as credit unions, and again, leaning on the credit union's principles, credit union is about people serving people, first of all. We're not for profit. So we have 7 principles that we're guided by as credit unions, and not just in Grenada, but it's the membership across the world, governed by the World Council of Credit Unions, of which Mr. Moses is a director, of course, and of which we're immensely proud. And I'm sure he's going to speak more so to some of the things about the World Council and how they're impacting. But during this period, the first thing was to reach out to members to see how they and their families are doing. So things like a social relief fund, where members who are really struggling during this period was able to get a helping hand, where we were able to actually make financial contribution. Safety and protection of members during this COVID period. So where we removed, had to move to more e-business and control the concentration of members gathering at various branches. And so, the whole aspect of putting in deposit boxes, ensuring the social distancing, controlling 2 or 3 people in office at one time, going as far as engaging our union and the Ministry of Health to come in and examine our facilities to see that they were COVID ready and that they were meeting the standards. So it was all centered around the member, first of all, the safety and soundness of that member of ours, who really is the lifeblood of credit unions. Remember, members are owners, and we want to emphasize that again, to tell members, listen, you own this organization. And so by being a first owner, you are the beneficiary of this organization. You must do your business with this organization first, because everything this organization does comes back to you as a member. So all the social programs that we run, all the support that we give to members and their children, all the less fortunate in society that we reach out to, everything about credit unions is about people helping people, that hand around the globe and what it really means. And as a movement in Grenada, we really try to emulate that under the Grenada Credit Union brand.
Thank you, Mrs. Francis. Mr. Moses, tell me from a riser's point of view how you helped your customers during these times, the past few months of the COVID lockdown.
Well, similar to what my colleagues have just said, but I think what needs to be emphasized is that the credit union movement is unique from the perspective that it is a people-driven, people-oriented movement. And from that perspective, hallmarks are demonstration of care, concern, flexibility, and treating the human being from a holistic perspective, recognizing that a member cannot pay their loan if they have problems that they cannot deal with. And so we provide counseling. We invite our members to come in and discuss what the challenges are. And in response to the various challenges, we then respond with appropriate measures, policies, assistance, as the case may be. So similar to what our sister credit union have done, we provide counseling. We have funding that we use to support our disadvantaged members who do not have the wherewithal and the means to treat with unusual occurrences. Apart from the normal moratorium and working with individual members to review their budgets, review their living and spending habits to ensure that they can cope with the challenges at hand. And this is an ongoing practice because things change by the day. We provide information on protocols and what you should do and what you should not do. And that is characteristic of the movement across the world. At the regional level, we have been providing continuous daily information to our credit union membership across the region. We have worked with the World Health Organization for the region and CDEMA. At the regional level, we have provided 100,000 US assistance to enable them to respond appropriately in the provision of masks, etc. At the world level, we are doing the same thing. Some of our bigger members, say like South Korea, has made a massive donation of masks to members across the world. At the World Council level, there are a number of initiatives based on regions and funds being made available to provide assistance to our credit union member family to treat with the individual challenges that they encounter at various parts around the world. So it's a holistic approach, with the main driver being the reasonable survival of our members, enhancing their livelihood and their families' livelihoods. So approach is not only financial, but we look at the individual from a holistic point of view, trying to cater to all their needs, to enable them to cope with the challenges that now confront them.
Grenada, like the rest of the world, is dealing with an economy that needs to bounce back from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. What role does the credit union movement play in helping the economy get going again?
Well, certainly, remember, credit unions, we are in the business of financial access, providing financial facilities, particularly to the segments of our society that previously did not have that access to available, affordable, accessible finance. And from that perspective, we provide the means for a lot of people to enable them to become creditworthy, to enable them to provide for their families, whatever they choose to, whether it's small business, as that case may be. So being a primary, at this point in our history, source of the mobilization of savings and finance to significant numbers of our population, and in Grenada's case, our membership now numbers 74,000. And in fact, Grenada has the 5th highest level of penetration, credit union penetration in the world, and the Caribbean is leading from that perspective. When you multiply the impact of that, you'll recognize that indeed we provide a significant source of funding for a significant part of our population. So from that perspective, we are a major player in enhancing the economic activities within the Grenadian borders. Because if you're talking about 74,000 persons being enabled, and they have to provide for their families and to do the things that are necessary for survival, we are a significant player, significant mobilizer of economic activity in the Grenadian context, and indeed the Caribbean.
Blossom, if I may add,
Sure.
I want to say as well that we have not cut some of our social programs. So in particular, our scholarship programs, I'm sure those who are following would have heard that the credit unions continue to support the students of our members. It is not a program that we've reneged on. We have not said that, okay, we know these are tough times for all, but we also put education of our people and their holistic development at the top of what we are doing. So the credit unions, even during this pandemic, and I think in some cases, some have gone the extra mile to ensure that we continue our signature scholarship and school support programs for our members' children.
Mr. Telesol, anything to add?
Well, yes. I mean, the truth is we continue to make our contributions through the length and breadth of Grenada in every respect. All the credit unions continue to offer scholarships, as was said earlier. We continue to contribute to social and sporting activities. We continue to reach out to our members in a real way, in a way that would affect the way that the family lives, because we want to ensure that the entire family is being taken care of, because the credit union indeed is about families, about ensuring that families are protected, families are strong, so that in turn we can have a strong nation. So that is what we continue to do. And Lydia did point out to the fact that the symbol of the credit union is that of a family-oriented organization. And that is what we continue to do, holding hands, joining hands across. And the more we combine our resources together, the more we pull together, the more we assist one another, the more we look out for each other, is the greater and stronger this movement will be, and in turn, our country. So that is what we continue to do. Thank you.
If I could me here.
Sure.
Sorry.
we need to talk about the credit union story and what makes us different. The evolution of the credit union movement, it was birthed out of dire economic circumstances, when it was extremely challenging for small people to survive. People were going hungry in Europe. So the credit union movement came out of a very challenging economic environment. And the model that was built reflected that. And that model is still relevant today. So in fact, in every economic depression around the world, consistently studies have shown that the cooperative model and indeed credit unions have thrived and done much better than other financial models. Why is this so? Because of that unique structure of people helping each other, that unique structure of caring, that unique structure of flexibility, and finding solutions to treat with our members' needs, particularly when they need us most. So in fact, the credit union becomes more relevant in periods of economic challenge. And it's because of those things, that's why the credit union movement have been growing. And in fact, in the last decade, we have seen a 59% growth in the credit union movement across the world, driven by many things. But one of the main drivers is that people are more receptive and inclined and are calling for people-oriented, community-driven, values-driven businesses. Coming out in particularly post-2008, where we talk about the concept of too big to fail, where big institutions were doing things that were harmful to the economic environment and not treating with the small man. So we have seen a major shift going back to the basics. And so people are looking and moving towards institutions that are value-driven, that are close to individuals, that are participative, where people can play a role in making the decisions about their livelihood. And that is part of the DNA of the credit union movement. So in fact, the history of the credit union movement is that we do much better in periods of difficult economic challenges, because people are searching for homes for homes where care is demonstrated, where they feel safe. And certainly the institution of the credit union movement is one such organization because of many of the things we have just outlined that we do. So our mission is the enhancement and provision of financial access to our members. And we attempt to do that in the best way we could, remembering first and foremost that is the interest of the individual that's the primary driver. So it's not about profits. It's about the well-being of our membership, and that is what makes us unique.
Mrs. Francis, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to comment on, even as we celebrate this month of October under the theme of inspiring hope for a global community. Usually in a month like this, across Grenada, we will celebrate with credit union members. Well, this year we had to do it in a different way. We had to do it in a caring way. And so, as an umbrella body, the decision was taken for credit unions to contribute to social welfare and well-being of members, to choose organizations. And the same funding we would have allocated to celebrating the day, instead that we put those to social causes. So we find organizations that are in need. If you notice, I'm wearing a pink ribbon because we chose the Pink Ribbon Society, and we've made a financial contribution to them. And we're saying that we're standing with them. So we're given free ribbons, out of the same funding that we have. We've purchased ribbons and are giving those free to our members that they can wear. And all the credit unions have been doing stuff. in the league made a significant contribution to the Ministry of Education with respect to PPE. You know, we found a small school somewhere in some of the forgotten ones, if I may say, and made a similar contribution. So, masks, PPE, masonry jars, whatever, and each of the credit unions in Grenada here have been doing something that touches the lives of our people. And that is the philosophy by which we operate.
All right, let's take a break at this point in the program, and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion. We're talking about the credit union movement in Grenada. This is To The Point on Classic and GBN. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Francis Urias Peters. I'm a good listener, and K105 has always been a great source of education and entertainment. Now, while the station name may have changed over the years, it has always provided valuable information which enabled me as a playwright to document and to celebrate our history, our behavior, and our achievements. K105 is my choice. It's the national station.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, reminds the general public to always be prepared. Make sure you have emergency supplies stocked away just in case. Here is a list to help you and your family. At least 1 gallon of water daily per person for 7 to 10 days. Enough food for
Welcome back to The Point. We're talking about the credit union movement. We have joining us is President of the Grenada Cooperative League, Philip Telesford, General Manager of Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Lydia Courtney Francis, and Director at Ariza Credit Union, Mr. Aaron Moses. Before we get to our viewers and listeners, we've spoken about what you've been doing for your members. What about the staff of the credit unions? How have you helped them get through these COVIDious times?
Should I go first as a GM, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm sure all the other credit unions are doing that. But again, the mind of our employees to deal with the burden that our members carry. So, for instance, with the whole aspect of the moratorium, we had to sit and counsel our staff so that they can deal with our members who are going through this very difficult time, and to hear their burden and to hear their stories and to see how we can help them. We also had to ensure that financially our staff was also in a good place because they have to come to work on a daily basis, understandably. We wanted them to be safe and secure. So the credit unions would have gone the extra step of taking our staff off the public transportation and providing private transportation to take our staff to work. Of course, that was a huge cost for us, but it is something we believe we had to do. And also we had to ensure that we follow the science and what it is saying, because during this period, there's so much information, that is bombarding the airwaves. At the credit union movement, we have to ensure we say to our staff, you follow what credible sources are saying. The WHO, the Ministry of Health in Grenada. Yes, we know that there's social media and all of these things, but to keep your mind sane and to keep you, your whole holistic being as a member, try to sift as much as possible, as far as to maybe avoid listening to some programs. And even in cases where our staff members themselves may have needed financial support because they too are part of families that have been affected, they too have lending facilities with us, we have to care for our own in a special way, if I may say, before they can care for the members that we care so much about. So I just wanted to add that piece, and that is happening that has happened right across the movement and continues to happen. Because remember now too, we are in a very delicate stage. We have got to some recent incidents, and we have to ensure that we practice and continue to practice this safety that the ministry is advocating, and that each of us as individuals really are responsible for so doing. So I take this opportunity to call on the movement to continue and to congratulate the movement and to say, let's keeping on.
Mr. Moses, has Ariza been also assisting its workers get through these times?
Certainly we have, and I don't want to rehash what Lydia has just alluded to. We have done similar things, but I want to take the discussion in a slightly different direction. It's related, taking my cue from one of the things Lydia suggested that I talk about, which has to do with concept of financial literacy. And I think it's an opportune time to revisit this concept, because crises force you to refocus on the things that are right and what we should be doing and what is germane and relevant to our needs at this particular point in time. And it also speaks to one of the core pillars of credit unionism. And to emphasize the point, in the early days, before you could have become a member of the credit union, you had to be, I would say, indoctrinated. You had to attend classes. And what did these classes teach you? It spoke about the uniqueness of the credit union, the cooperative model, the 7 pillars, but most importantly, it dealt with financial literacy. What does that mean? And the reality is that the entire world is facing what I describe and other people refer to as a financial literacy epidemic, where most of the people in the world do not pay attention or do not understand the ins and outs of financial literacy. People today are confronted with survival challenges. Over 40% of persons in the world today, across the world, are living from paycheck to paycheck. If they do not get pay, they go into crisis. Another 20%, if they do not get pay in 3 months, they're into crisis. Why is this so? What is happening? Now, this has come home to roost because we see what is happening as a fallout of this pandemic. Unemployment increased significantly and will continue to increase. And this crisis is not going to go away in a hurry. My projections is that it's going to get much worse before it gets better. These are the realities. Next year will be a very challenging year. There will be more persons on the unemployment line. And how are people going to survive? Now, one of the fundamental tools that most persons have not been practicing is the management of your finances. Very important part of this whole concept of financial literacy. And it starts off from you and your goals and aspirations. What is it you want to achieve in life? What's important to you? And unless you can get a handle and grip of those things, you begin to have problems. Most people do not do structured budgeting. Now, we all have limited resources. We all are constrained by our income. At the same time, we have needs and wants. At the same time, a lot of things have to be done to survive. And we need to match our financial resources with our goals and aspirations, prioritizing what is important, what is necessary, and quite simply, the ability to live within our means. And that is at the core of credit unionism, because it's not only about an institution where you can access finance, etc., but it's more than that. We pay a lot of attention to educating our members about these important things. And it's only by understanding those things and taking the appropriate action you can begin to achieve the goals that you set for yourself and your family. And incrementally over time, build yourselves and the family and transition from lower echelons of society and enhancing your life and building the middle class. And that's one of the key roles of credit unionism. We contribute to the building of the middle class in all the societies that we operate, because you enable people to move from the lower echelons of the society, practicing good financial principles that build them slowly over time, where they begin to accumulate more material wealth, being able to build a home, to take care of educating their children, and that is what we do. But to do that effectively, it has to start at the basics. And I don't want to hit on the young people, but you look at some of the behaviors in our societies nowadays, and where people are putting the emphasis, where they take their money, and what they are doing. And I think this is an opportune time to reflect, because many persons in the society don't have any savings. And you cannot make any progress in life without that, because there's a relationship between savings, consumption, and investments. And it's investments that will enhance your ability to grow and become more economically enabled going forward. So you cannot get anywhere in life without fundamentally looking at your resources, being able to manage them, savings, and using that to achieve the important goals in your life. But unfortunately, the majority of persons in society, what they do is basically, and it's a natural thing, we prefer to enjoy the good things of life rather than to go through any pain. And discipline to a lot of people is pain. So taking time to achieve a particular objective, that involves sacrifice, and some people view sacrifice as pain. And so we always predispose to personal aggrandizement, fun, enjoyment, And so a lot of our persons in society, most of the resources go into those things and not into preparation, and that will enable them to become creditworthy to acquire more resources in the future. And I think it's an opportune time where people have to sit and rethink and reflect. And why is it that they are confronting all those challenges now? A lot of it has to do with individual, your goals, your aspirations, your behaviors. And that is one of the things we do in the credit union movement. So we do all this financial literacy training. When individuals go to access finance, you take them through the process. And I would submit that if we do more of that, we'll have a much better society. We will not have people going through all the challenges that they are confronted with now, throwing their hands up in the air because they don't see how they can survive. We have to plan our future. We have to take it stage by stage and not be carried away by the trappings of society, where we are subjected to all sorts of consumerism pushes. This deal advertised, this looks good, or neighbor is doing X, I can do X too. And everybody wants to acquire material things at the same time, without scheduling, without trying to live within their means. And so we have a crisis where people now cannot meet their basic fundamental needs because they did the wrong things, thinking it was the right thing.
I just want to add quickly, Blossom, in furtherance to what Aaron said. It is not just about educating them, we take that further. So we actually act it out. So for instance, when you take a loan with our credit union movement in Grenada, we counsel you to have a saving element of that. So we introduced something called a compulsory saving, because we believe if the money does not come back into your hand for you to have to put it back into us, that we can get you to start becoming disciplined. So as small as it is, we always encourage you to make your loan payment a little shade above what it really is supposed to be. So for instance, if your loan repayment is $300, we will encourage you, not we encourage you, we mandate you that your deduction, if it is a deduction coming to us, let's say it's $350. That $50 goes into that compulsory saving that you are not able to touch throughout the life of your borrowing. So that when you have finished paying your loan, you actually end up with a savings. That is a principle of the credit union movement and something we're immensely proud of. So in several small ways, we are enhancing the life of our members. And the credit union movement has also moved into provident, not just about borrowing for mortgages now, but putting our members through their small businesses and financing that. I know families who their only financial institution is the credit union. They send their children to school through the credit union. They send them to college through the credit union. They build their house to the credit union. There are some unique families like that right here across Grenada, and we want to encourage much more to do so. Because as Aaron alluded to earlier, this is how the credit union movement was born, out of the community and out of that. Over to you, Mr. Philip. Sorry, I just wanted to interject that there.
Before we go to Mr. Telesford, the phone has been ringing for the past while, so let's just take some of the calls and comments from our viewers and listeners. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Yes. The Prime Minister came and told the nation that the revenue base of the country has collapsed. I want to know if the credit union have any plans in place to give loans to the government, bearing in mind that is the people's money, the credit union money is the people's money. Are they willing and able to give the government any loans to strengthen the situation? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
All right. To answer that, the setup of the credit union to begin with will not permit that to happen. The loans that the credit unions offer are only to its members, no one else. So that will not happen. That cannot happen under law or otherwise. Well,
No, go ahead.
Well, just to pick up a bit, the credit union system is, the design of the credit union system, as Aaron was alluding to earlier, the framework within which it operates enables the credit union to be able to survive and to prosper in times like these because of the shared network, the intercooperation amongst credit union, and the fact that members continue to save, even in the worst of situations like now, they continue to save. So because of that framework, the credit union movement is strong in the midst of all of this. Notwithstanding that there are some certain challenges, and the fact is that because it's a member-driven organization, members love their credit union. And so that we explain these things to them. So in times like these, they partner with the individual credit unions to be able to sort of handle this situation, as opposed to calling on the deposits and stuff like this. So it's not a situation where there will be a run on the credit union and these kind of things. Credit unions are usually being able to really survive adverse situations like these.
A WhatsApp question: when can the diaspora get direct access to credit union online banking?
Well, in the case of some of our credit unions, they already have that. So for the two of us that are on here, we have online and mobile banking as services offered. Primary answer for the two of us. This is an ever-growing movement, so we're working with the other credit unions, whether it's through cooperation or otherwise, And I'm sure you would see another moving in that direction shortly.
Yeah. Well, let me just add, because we are representing the entire movement. And so as we speak this morning, there are many credit unions, apart from the two that is represented here in this panel, have enabled and continue to enable their members to access their accounts whilst being overseas. It is a work in progress. And so the smaller credit unions, for example, they are working towards that because we understand that access from anywhere in the world is key, and technological investments and all of that. Those things are important in order to transform the individual credit unions and the movement by extension. So we are ensuring we continue to challenge general managers and presidents of the various credit unions to get with the program to ensure that the members can access their accounts from anywhere in the world, invest in the best technology that there is, partner with the larger credit unions, and share services to ensure that even if they are unable to make the investment, they can partner with a larger credit union to bring that service to the members. So really and truly, in this age of science and technology, there's really no excuse. So we continue to work and encourage our individual credit unions to make that happen. So that is part of our agenda.
Good morning, caller.
Yes, morning. I want to make a contribution on this stuff.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, let me comment on a point made by Dr. Tellis for a little while ago, that the credit union does not lend money to government. That is not entirely correct to the extent that individual credit unions have government bonds or treasury bills on their books. And the fact of the matter is, if you're buying treasury bills or you're buying government bonds, you are in fact lending money to government in the hope that you get it back down the road. And I am aware of at least one credit union that has a significant amount of government paper on its books. Secondly, I find it very interesting that Brother Moses and Brother Sister Lydia and yourself are on this program, because I think, first of all, let us go back to 2007, 2008, the great financial crisis, when at that time the only financial institution in the world which was not adversely affected by the financial fallout was credit unions. Credit unions are on record as having withstood the shocks of the financial crisis at that point in time, and not one single credit union in any part of the world went down. And that is because of the structure of the credit union. That is because, as Lydia said a while ago, of the philosophy of the credit union. And I wonder if there isn't a case for Commonwealth and Arise now to engage in closer talks for functional and other forms of cooperation. Because when we look at the whole financial sector at this point in time, since you have had the merger of the Republic and Bank of Nova Scotia, you have two banks in Grenada that have assets of $1 billion+. What does that mean? It means that the more money you have, the more assets you have as a financial institution, is the more you are able, or better able you are, to help your members or to help the community that you serve. And it is the same thing with credit unions. If your credit union does not have sufficient assets or sufficient capital, you can't make loans of a certain type to your members. And when you look at the balance sheet, right, or the assets of all of the credit unions, the Communal, the Arisa, the GUT, whoever else you have, it is approaching $500 million, which is half of one of the other two big banks right now. So I believe Sister Courtney and Brother Moses, that there is a renewed case coming out of this COVID period for greater collaboration and functional cooperation between the credit unions movements that exist within the country. Bearing in mind that we have come from 20-plus credit unions 12 to 15 years ago to less than 9 or 10 of them at this point in time. And I do believe that further consolidation and cooperation between the credit union movement strengthens it. The final point I would want to make is what it is that credit unions are doing at this point in time to help the individual members. Brother Moses made a number of points about the financial literacy. Sister Lydia made a number of points. But I think we have to go beyond that. What is the greatest threat that we face at this point in time? The greatest threat that is faced by the individual member at this point in time is the question of future income.
Okay.
Moses believed that the question of unemployment is going to get worse if the COVID situation continues and you don't find a vaccine. But I think that credit unions need to address this business.
Okay.
The point made by Brother Moses, I'll come to the final. The point made by Moses about savings is critical. We too have to encourage our members to save.
Thank you very much. Anybody would respond?
I want to. My colleague, the caller, has made a number of important points. The most important, I think, has to do with the ability to respond to the needs of our members in an effective and efficient way. This suggests that the institution must have the capacity to do so. They must have the financial wherewithal to do so. Now, when I joined the regional credit union movement, there were 397 credit unions across the Caribbean. It is now 288. And the primary reason has to do with because of mergers and amalgamation. A lot of it had to do with large credit unions absorbing small credit unions, because small credit unions do not have the wherewithal to respond to all the needs of the members. But in the last 10 years in particular, primarily in Jamaica and Dominica, we have seen the coming together of large institutions. In fact, the two largest credit unions in Jamaica are now in the process of doing due diligence as a precursor to a potential merger. Now, why is this so? It's primarily because they want to enable themselves to be able to treat with the ever-growing needs and sustainability of membership. The drive towards digitalization, which is what is exciting consumers and is a trend that is not going to stop, is a very expensive one. To provide the cutting-edge services of members require significant expenditure in the way of equipping, from a technological point of view, of various credit unions across the region. Small credit unions would not and cannot, do not have the capacity to embrace that technology in a holistic manner. And so, in order to treat with the trends, it's inevitable that we have to begin to collaborate more and more. We have to understand the trends, the changes, most importantly, our membership needs, and we have to remain close to them. So I support the caller that investigation of greater collaboration is absolutely essential. It's inevitable, and we need to pay more attention to those things. The other point I wanted to address is, and it's a very difficult one, is given the challenges, how do you gear up to enable your membership to survive? And it speaks to the ability to enable them to become more self-reliant, more independent, and most importantly, the ability to see opportunities and to grasp them. And that requires a lot of training. It requires the credit union to provide training and information to our members, and that has been on the table being discussed. And I really think it's a process that needs to be accelerated as policy, because we have to look at those potential opportunities and to put our resources, or some of our resources, into the direction of assisting members or enabling members to get to the point where they can become more self-reliant and to pursue initiatives that can enhance their well-being and not depend on, rely on governments and other institutions in our society to provide opportunities. So people can no longer sit back. They have to become creative, they have to become innovative, and begin to use whatever resources they have at the disposal of the society, and to pursue new initiatives. So our role is to assist in that process, and I agree with the caller that to go in that particular direction. That's my input. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've quickly run out of time. I can give you maybe 15 to 30 seconds each. Final thoughts? Well, Mrs. Francis, I guess we can start with you. Oh, no, go ahead, Mr. Tell us what. Go ahead.
I just want to quickly add, just taking up from Moses, that functional cooperation is something indeed that the movement must embrace at this point in time, because if we do not do that, we are certainly going to miss the boat. Yes, the movement is strong, but we have to prepare for the future. We have to equip ourselves, and we cannot do it by operating in our little corners. We must get closer together. So in order to get to a position where we can start talking about serious mergers at a higher level, we must start operating at a lower level where we can do functional cooperation, whether it has to do with investing in a common IT platform and shared services at that level or other services. We need to start doing that. And I know that with the ATM, for example, that is part of it. We started at that level, and we must continue that. And from the league point of view, I want to encourage the rest of the movement to speak a little more. Yes, we have our meetings. We need to hear from you what is needed to be done to ensure that the sector remains relevant into the future. We have a lot of young people and people from all walks of life joining the movement, but we must communicate and train and develop our people in order to ensure that the movement remains strong and relevant.
I'd like to thank the three of you for being our guests this morning. We've run out of time for this morning's program, but thank you so much for shedding some light on the developments of the credit union movement over the past few years, especially in these COVIDious times. And once again, happy International Credit Union Month to the three of you and the rest of your members. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those were members of the credit union movement in Grenada. We were speaking with President of the Grenada Cooperative League, Philip Telesford, General Manager of Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Mrs. Lydia Courtney Francis, and Director at Ariza Credit Union, Mr. Aaron Moses. We thank the three of them, and thank you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning in. That's the end of this morning's program and the end of my time with you today. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, God willing. Until then, have yourselves a safe and thankful Thursday. Joseph is up next with Mid-Morning Buzz.